Are you guys ready? Yeah. Go. Okay. So entrepreneurs suck at pitching. I know this because I've been coaching entrepreneurs through their pitching for the last 15 years. I have seen more than 1,000 pitches a year, and I can count the good ones on one hand. My name is Nicole Glaros. I'm the Chief Innovation Officer at Techstars, and I'm here to help you guys not suck at pitching. All right, the very first thing you need to do is know your audience. Know your audience. You guys are pitching on Demo Day. Who are you pitching to?
Investors.
Investors. What does an investor care about?
Make money.
Interestingly, yes, this is true. You know how often people get that wrong? They care about making money. You need to orient yourself. Every word that comes out of your mouth, every slide in your slide deck, you need to orient around them getting comfortable with the idea of them making money investing in your business. Now, how is that different from a customer pitch? What does a customer care about?
Products. Happiness.
Saving money, making money, saving time, something like that, solving a problem. Versus an employee. What does an employee care about?
Security, a lot better.
Right. They care about their job security, they care about salary, they care about work environment. When you can understand your audience and tweak every single word that comes out of your mouth to orient around what your audience cares about, you win. And that's what I'm going to help you guys do today. That's what's different about today versus every other pitch book that you've ever read or any other pitch talk that you've heard. I'm going to help you try to climb inside of the investor mind to understand the words that you need to speak in order to speak directly to the part of their brain that's helping drive their behavior. All right, what's the goal? On Demo Day, what is the goal? What's the goal of your pitch?
Get people excited.
Get people excited? Sure. What else?
Commit to investing in dollars.
You think anyone's going to commit on Demo Day?
Maybe not.
No one's going to commit on Demo Day, guys. It never happens. What's the goal?
Set up the next meeting as best as we can.
That's right. Get to the next meeting. Your whole job is to get business cards, to get people excited enough to come up and give you a business card that says, let's talk. Me and you, we got to talk. I'm excited. Your goal is to get to the next meeting. And how do you do that? Oh, I skipped that slide. Okay. You do that by entertaining me. You do that by impressing me. Right? Remember, as an investor, investors are listening to thousands of pitches a year. Thousands. I guarantee they've heard your business before. They've heard your business model before. They've heard your product before. You have to stand head and shoulders above everything else that they've ever heard in order for them to get into that lean-in motion. How many of you guys remember the commercials that you see on TV? Handful of them, right? But you don't remember all of them? You remember one or two, maybe three? The rest of them are noise. Your job is to not be noise. You have to stand head and shoulders above everything else. All right, we're going to break your Demo Day pitch down into 4 distinct sections. The intro section, which lasts about a minute. The demo section, which is about 2 to 3 minutes. This is where you're going to actually demo your product. The business stuff, so your market size, your business model, your team, all those parts, and then the landing. These are 4 distinct sections that I want you to think about distinctly. And then we're going to start with the intro. Oh, I just realized I have audio. Do I have audio in here?
Yeah, you should.
I should? Okay, cool. You don't need to write this down because you guys will have access to this deck afterwards, but if you want to know the slides in a perfect deck, these are the slides. There are like 10,000 books out there that talk about how to do this. I'm not here to focus on the specifics of the slides. I'm here to focus on the why behind the slides. All right, so the intro section. If you think back to how I started, I only took about 15 seconds, right? And this is what I did. I introduced myself. I said, hi, I'm Nicole Glaros, the Chief Innovation Officer. I established some credibility. I've been doing this for 15 years, right? I stated what the problem and opportunity was. You guys suck at this. I'm here to help you, and that's why you should care, because it's important to you guys, right? I did all that in about 15 seconds. The goal of it is to be interesting. You have to get me into that lean-in motion. If you don't get me into that lean-in, if you don't get me leaning in, you won't get me back. What's your competition on Demo Day? Does anyone know? Who's your competition on Demo Day?
People's
A few different areas, keeping the audience informed.
Yeah, he got it. He got it. Your smartphone, the person's smartphone. Your competition is the phone that is buzzing in my pocket. My husband's sending me pictures of my kids. Twitter's going off. My email goes off like every 8 seconds or something like that with 20 emails. I'm constantly being stressed out by what's happening in my pocket. You have to get my attention away from that. That usually happens in about less than 30 seconds, right? So your competition is my smartphone. You've got about 30 seconds. I'm being generous and giving you guys a minute. But if you can do it in less than 30 seconds, if you get people to ignore what's happening in their pocket and paying attention to you, you've won. If you have the cure for cancer and you've buried that in minute 2, nobody will hear it. Because once you've lost them, they're gone. All right, so here's some ideas on how to get people in that first minute. Tell me a fact, a startling fact. Tell me a personal story, right? Contradict wisdom. Make me go, be funny. But just getting up there and stating what your business does is boring. And when you're boring, you're going to lose me. Again, your goal is to entertain me. Once you've entertained me and impressed me, I'm paying attention. So we're going to spend I've got three videos that I want to show you guys of companies that I think that did this really well. Let's hope the audio works. So this is a company that's called Keen.io. Does everybody know who Keen is? Many of you have heard of them, right? They're a company that went through our cloud program in 2012. And what happened when they got started was they had a really hard time attracting mentors and investors to what they did because their product was so technical that everybody's eyes would glaze over when they started talking about it, right? There was 1 or 2 people that kind of got it, but by and large, 98% of people they talked to, eyes glazed over because they didn't understand it. So they got to a place where they could use an analogy, tell a story to explain what they did. And I think that they did this really well.
Hey everyone, great to be here. I'm Ryan, one of the co-founders of Keen. And at Keen, we are reinventing analytics for mobile applications. And to help me explain how, I'm going to tell you a little story. This is Tycho Brahe, a 16th century astronomer. He's famous for collecting an astounding amount of astronomical data. Every night, he would write down the position and the brightness of every star and every planet in the sky. And after 30 years of doing this, he died. Luckily, he had an assistant named Johannes Kepler. Kepler took Brahe's data, applied his own genius, and single-handedly came up with the laws of planetary motion that we still use to this day. Because Brahe dedicated his entire life to gathering all that data, Johannes Kepler is now cemented in history as a genius. And that's exactly what we do. Every mobile application is its own universe, full of data being generated by millions of users. And we can record that data in meticulous detail, just like Brahe. Only instead of stars and planets and their positions, our technology records every touch, every swipe, every purchase, and every share. We can record every interaction within an application and store it in our data warehouse in the cloud. And our customers use this data to discover new patterns of how their users are using their application. Our technology unleashes their genius. We turn our customers into Johannes Keplers. So let me give you an example. We're currently working.
What works? What did you like? I want you to wear an investor hat. You have a checkbook in your pocket. You're supposed to be making investments. What do you like?
Big vision.
What does that mean? What do you mean by big vision?
Big opportunity. Size of market.
Yeah, size of the market. This is for every mobile application on every device? Wow, that's a really big market. Every single company that develops an application for the phone or for the mobile device. Wow. Big market, love it. Yes, that's right. He never says that, right? He never says the market size is blah. He just makes you feel it. So you're right. What else? What else did you like? Wear an investor hat.
He's charismatic, and I think he would be able to convince others to get on board with this.
He's charismatic. So I love that you said that because most people don't pick this up in the first one of these that we look at, right? Who liked his presentation style? Not everybody does. Who didn't like it? Raise your hand. It's okay, be honest. Only one person. Oh, two. Okay. I want to point that out because I want you guys to know that different styles attract different people, right? But the reason why I actually agree with you. I think he's very charismatic. The word I would use is confident, right? Isn't this funny that you extrapolate his confidence on stage with his capability as a CEO? Who did that subconsciously? Yeah, managing director did it, right? You guys do it too, you just don't realize that you did. When you stand up on stage and you command presence and you show confidence, people make this really unfair extrapolation that you're also going to be a great CEO. We know that's not true, right? Because your ability to stand on stage in front of 1,000 people doesn't necessarily translate to your skill sets as a CEO, but it's this subconscious extrapolation that people make that's actually really important. So when I talked earlier about me going into a presentation persona, that's part of it, right? And it's just practice. What else did you like? Who feels a little smarter after listening to that? Just a little bit. Wow, you were reminded of something that you learned a long time ago, right? Wow, that's cool. I feel a little bit smarter. Oh, Tycho Brahe, got it, I remember, right? Whose mind wandered? Be honest. A couple people, 3, all right? That's okay, my mind wandered too. I think a weakness of this is that it was a little long. Who gets it? Who understands what the business does, more or less? Not the specifics of it. Everyone in the room.
No.
No, you don't more or less get it?
I mean, I don't really, I get the gist of gathering touching the screen, but I don't really understand how it creates value.
Ah, interesting. Okay. That's a great point. So one of the reasons why I really like to go through the exercise and why you guys as a group should go through these exercises of looking at demo day pitches is because everyone's going to have a slightly different take. And when you can aggregate all the slightly different interpretations of your pitch and tweak those, try to enhance the strengths and get rid of the weaknesses based on collective groups' opinions, your pitches are going to become stronger. I've never actually heard that. Most people tell me that they really get it and that they see how that drives value. But the fact that there's one person in this room means that there were 100, but 20 people in the room on demo day that didn't get it for him.
He doesn't talk about a problem.
There doesn't always have to be a problem. There can be an opportunity. What's the problem that the Alexa device solves?
Making your life more efficient.
But that's not a problem. It's an opportunity, right?
It's not battery operated.
My point is that you can chase opportunities too. They don't all have to be problems. All right, let's do another one.
Was that his demo or no?
That was his demo. So what he did is, in most cases, a lot of times a pitch will have an intro and then it will do a demo. He wraps the intro and demo into one piece. And that's totally okay, right? By the way, the formula that I'm giving you guys for an awesome pitch is just a rough outline. Your goal is to take the rough outline and then mix it up and make it uniquely yours. Because the more that it sounds formulaic like everybody else in class, the more it's going to put people's brains to sleep. So your job is to add color and flavor. So I'm going to give you the basic best practices, and then you get to stir it up and add the spices. Okay, so let's do this one, an interesting fact. So Post is a company that went through the Boulder program in 2010. They totally pivoted. They don't do this anymore. But still, his approach to talking about his business is an interesting one, so we'll listen to it.
So I'm going to get started with some statistics. So the New York Times is produced by a big editorial staff, over 1,200 people. And their collective efforts attract an audience of 15 million monthly uniques. The Huffington Post, by contrast, is produced by a staff just 1/20th the size, just 60 people. Yet they're able to attract an audience twice the size of that of the Times, 30 million monthly uniques. How can a publisher with 1/20th the staff achieve twice the results? I'm Toby Murdoch, co-founder of Post. And the answer to that question lies in the Huffington Post's ability to leverage a large network of non-staff contributors to produce their content. And this
Okay, wear your investor hat. Does anybody know what he does? Anyone want to take a stab? Because he didn't say what he did. Anyone want to take a stab at it? Yeah.
Platform that allows third-party collaborators to send content to a publisher or media outlet.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Third party, well, crowdsource,
Yeah.
right? That's right. He never actually said that, but you kind of get, if you're paying attention, you kind of get the gist of it, right? Wear your investor hat. What do you like?
Disruption.
Disruption. Why? What about it is disruptive?
New York Times is 100+ years old, and then Huffington Post is new, and the way they're doing something new, and he like accelerates that in the entire industry.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Pattern matching.
In what way?
We're like the Huffington. If you want to be like the Huffington Post, as efficient, as profitable, we can help you do that.
That's right. What else? That's good.
I feel like the New York Times is a kind of classic straw company. Like, do you know what I mean? It's like one of the sort of, it's like emblematic of bad old media and all those sorts of things. So it's like, it's kind of putting up like a boogeyman.
So let me help you out a little bit, right? So how do you think the media and the publishing industry is doing? Well or poorly?
Badly.
Poorly. But does everybody think the media industry should exist or not exist? Should exist. So we all want to try to help them find a way to be sustainable, right? Is this a way to help them be sustainable? Yeah. Maybe, because it helps them reduce cost? For the entire media industry, the publication industry, right? Big, gigantic industry with huge companies like the New York Times could potentially die, except for maybe this technology might save them. Okay, you don't actively think about this in your brain, but these are like thought patterns that are going on subconsciously in an investor's mind. Big market, big opportunity, super disruptive, taking advantage of trends, crowdsourced content, right? Interesting. He never actually even said what he did. My point is you can get all of this by watching something like that. And he sparks your curiosity. That's right, how does the Huffington Post do that compared to the New York Times? I wonder. Right? All right, let's do one more. This is my favorite one. This is ScriptPad. They went through the program. They also went through the Boulder program in 2010. This is the only company, to the best of my knowledge, that ever got a standing ovation after their opening. And I'm not going to tell you what they did. You can hear it. This is a technique that we like to call twist the knife, and I'll explain that in a minute.
I'm Liam Davis-Mead. I'm here with my co-founder, Shane Taylor, and we're ScriptPad. ScriptPad transforms the iPad and iPhone into a digital prescription pad, enabling doctors to write prescriptions faster and safer than their current paper process. Why do this? Because this stuff kills people. This is an example of a completely illegible handwritten paper prescription. The pharmacist in this case dispensed the wrong heart medication because he couldn't read the doctor's handwriting. He mistook Iserdil for Plendil, and instead of controlling the patient's condition, the medication caused a massive and fatal heart attack. And this happens again and again and again. In fact, of the 1.7 billion handwritten prescriptions scrawled out each year on those familiar paper script pads, up to 40% contain some form of error, whether it's missed drug interactions, improper dosing, or just plain unreadable handwriting. Each year, 7,000 people die, and another 1.5 million are injured as a result of these errors, causing billions in avoidable hospitalization and treatment.
Who is terrified of ever getting a prescription on a piece of paper again, right? All right, wear your investor hats. Tell me what you hear. Yeah.
I'm super in favor of not dying.
That's right. That's right. But I want you, so that's a customer reaction. I want you to think about an investor reaction.
Market size.
Who's the market?
Anyone who receives a prescription.
Is that who's paying for the product?
Insurance companies.
Or doctors?
Doctors.
Right, doctors are the market. Can doctors afford this service? Yeah, they're a customer that has the capability of paying for it, right? It's like the downside about selling to like public school systems is that they have a really hard time affording things. Doctors do not. Right? What else? Is this going to save a doctor money or what? I mean, insurance company, doctors have insurance for things like this. So you might be able to get insurance to push this through. You might be able to get legislation to make this a law, right? Because it's saving lives, right? This is your investor brain. And then then you have the sort of reptilian response of, I don't want to die. This could save my life. This could save a loved one's life, right? This is the kind of thing I want to put my money into, because not only is it a big market and it could be a potentially big return, but it's doing good in the world too. Wow, that's like the perfect storm of opportunities. Hey, sounds like it's working. He could have just sit there and said, we do digital prescriptions. Any questions? He could have just done that. But he did something different. He made you feel it. He made you feel pain by emphasizing words, right? 7,000 people die, right? There are billions in avoidable healthcare costs. He twisted the knife. When you can attach emotion behind the pitch, you can make people feel it rather than just hear it, you've won. It's game over, right? The emotional driver behind things like this is a very powerful motivator. Now, not every company can do that. And if you're not a company that can do that, don't try it, because it comes off being very inauthentic, right? But my point is, when you can attach emotion to whatever it is you're pitching, it's game over. And this is what advertising companies spend so much money on trying to do today, attach emotion to their product. I saw a hand. Do you have a question?
I thought the numbers were a bit over the top and inauthentic. It would have been more helpful for me if you try to relate the service he offers to some family member I have or that he has who had a heart attack, or to make it even more personal.
So interestingly, the numbers are real.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I mean, those aren't made up numbers. And that's why this is powerful, is because they're not. We actually one of the reasons why the founders got into this was because of a problem like that, and they had a really hard time delivering it in a way that actually helped the company rather than hurt the company. So we decided to take the impersonal route. Every one of you is going to have a certain strength or weakness, so trying to figure out what works for you and how you pitch and the way that you pitch is really important. They did have a personal story, but they couldn't deliver it well. They could deliver this well. But those numbers are real. They're not made up. Yeah?
And that's what convinced me, is that if you just say we're doing digital prescriptions, I would think doctors are busy, you can do a lot with the pad, this digital thing is going to be restrictive, and why don't we go along with something new?
Yeah.
But if you say that there's a huge danger here, that's a very good point.
It is. It is. It makes you feel it, though, right? He made you feel it. That's what's powerful. Okay. When you guys are preparing your pitches, you want to spend 80% of your time on this first minute, right? This is where a bulk of your energy needs to go, 80% of your time. If you don't nail the first minute, the rest of the stuff that comes after it almost doesn't matter, because you'll have lost people and they won't be paying attention anyway. So your job is to get people's attention in this first minute. It is not easy. So the more that you pitch in front of each other, what you want to do after every single pitch is see, where did you lose the room? Where did people get confused? Where did people's mind wander? Having people's mind wander during your pitch is a great thing because you can figure it out and then tweak it, right? So co-founders, sit next to your founder and watch the room and see where people are checking their phones, see where people are looking at their laptops. Help them with this. It's really hard to do, right? Spend 80% of your time here, 20% of your time on everything else in that first minute. All right, let's go to section 2. This is the demo section, right? This section of your deck is going to take about 2 to 3 minutes. And the big takeaway here is show me, don't tell me. Don't use words to describe for me what you do. Use images, use video. Let me give you an example. So at the time that this company went through Techstars, I used to not really jokingly say, the next time I see a social, local, mobile event discovery app, I'm going to shoot myself in the fucking head. And it was because 15 or 20% of all applications that came through Techstars were social, local, mobile event discovery, and there's no business model behind it, right? And then this guy comes along. We make an app that lets friends discover and attend events. That's social, local, mobile event discovery. I want to kill myself. But then I see the demo of what they do.
From the second that you log on to Native, we start to get to know you. You authenticate with your favorite social networks so that we can bring your interests to life. Then we ask you a couple questions to get to know you better. These questions will periodically appear in your feed so that we can improve our recommendations to you. This is your first recommendation. As we scroll through, it becomes clear that this hike was recommended because the weather's great, your friends are available, and you love to spend time outdoors. Here's another. This yoga class is happening soon nearby, and you told us that you were interested in working out more. When serendipity strikes and the time is right, Native will let you know. This concert is trending now, happening soon, and matches your interests. Right from the app, you can listen to a preview of the artist, you can add it to your calendar, or even book tickets. Native also makes rallying your friends to go incredibly easy. With a couple taps, we match you with the best friends to bring, and with a single tap, we send a notification to all these friends. And with a swipe, they can say that they're interested too. Goodbye staring at your phone, and hello, adventure.
So a demo will separate you from every single other time that investors have heard your business model. It will really highlight the differentiation between you and everyone else that's doing it, right? So don't tell me what you do, show me. Use images and use video to explain to me what you do, and that's going to be way more powerful for me to understand how your business is different than everything else that's out there. For what it's worth, Native also pivoted because there is no business model behind social local mobile event discovery. But let's just say for a moment, using the Native business, what's their business model? Does anybody remember from the demo?
Selling tickets.
Selling tickets, that's right. He never said this is our business model. He showed you in the demo. He used the demo to demonstrate what the business model was. What's their customer acquisition strategy?
Friends recommending friends.
Friends recommending friends, that's right. He never said this is our customer acquisition strategy. He demoed it. Do you understand the difference between telling me what you do and showing me what you do? He buried that stuff in here, and then actually later on in his presentation, he does tell me this is our customer acquisition strategy, this is our business model, but now that he said it multiple times in different ways, it's starting to sink in, I get it. Understand? This is where you spend the next biggest bulk of your time because it's not easy. What you want to focus on is the differentiator between you and everybody else out there, or you want to focus on the stuff that is helping me as an investor make an investment decision. Oh, I get it. They have a business model. They are going to make money. Okay, I'm interested. Oh, they're not going to have to spend a lot of money on customer acquisition because they've got an inherent virality coefficient in their product. Got it. These are things that are helping my investor brain get me more interested in the opportunity, right? Rather than just what the product does. He's speaking to the investor side of me. Every single sentence is engineered around that, literally. Like we sat down and how does this contribute to the investor brain? How does this contribute to the investor brain? Engineering every word in every sentence. All right, that's section 2, the demo section. Let's talk about the section 3, because this is where, unfortunately, people spend most of their time. This is actually the easiest part. This is where you can spend the least amount of your time. I'm going to go through each slide in the demo sections separately, but we'll talk about why each slide is important and what you want to orient around. All right, so the market size. You need to talk about your market size. Why? Sometimes this is an obvious question, but I'm always amazed at how few people get this right. Why is this important?
How you earn money. I mean, how the investors will recoup their investment.
Yes, but what? I mean, like an entrepreneur can earn money with a small market.
The way VCs are structured.
What?
The way VCs are structured, they can make 100x or something in their investment.
That definitely has a lot to do with it. It's the size that the business can get to. And the size that the business can get to and the percentages of the business that I can own helps me return my fund, right? So while I could go into a whole tangent on venture fund versus angels and their economics and how they think about the world, because it's different. Make sure you understand that before going in. But at least from a venture perspective, I need gigantic exits in order for it to make sense for my business to make an investment. I mean, for my fund to make an investment. Gigantic exits, like billions or hundreds and hundreds of millions, right? So I need really, really large markets. So I need to know that, oh wow, if this company only gets 1% of the market, it's still a $1 billion exit. If they get 10% of the market, holy cow, that's huge, right? By the way, side note is that an angel has a different formula there. So you have to understand that, right? So you need to talk about market size. But that doesn't necessarily mean you need to know the numbers. So this is Isaac Saldana. Isaac is the founder, one of the founders of SendGrid. And when SendGrid started, they had no idea what the market was. There was no other company that was doing what they were doing. Nobody had ever measured this market. So he just talked about it in ways that made me leverage my investor brain going, oh my God.
So how big is our market size? The companies you see here are email marketing companies, and they approximately send 100 million emails per day. Facebook alone dwarfs this market. They send over 500 million transactional emails per day. And there are many other companies sending transactional emails that don't have the resources Facebook has to deal with transactional email problems.
Okay, so my investor brain goes, those were publicly traded, there were 4 publicly traded companies on there that charge per email that they send out. Here's one company, Facebook, that 20x's what these 4 publicly traded companies does, and Facebook does it all by themselves. If I were to just even service Facebook, I would be a huge business. But think about all the other companies that are out there. Holy fucking shit, it's huge. But he never says how big it is, because we don't know, right? You need to make me feel like this is a gigantic opportunity. A little side note on Isaac Saldana. Isaac is, as I mentioned earlier, he's one of the co-founders, and he was terrified. English is not his first language. He's an immigrant from Mexico. He's a software engineer by trade. He's very introverted. He's very quiet, right? He was terrified to get up on stage on demo day. He crushed it. He practiced every day. He actually went through Toastmasters. He pitched in front of anybody that would listen to him pitch. He conquered his fear. And because of my experience working with Isaac, I can tell you for sure that if you're terrified, you can crush it. You can do awesome. It just takes practice, right? So embrace the fear a little bit, lean into it, and you'll do great. All right, the business model. I love putting this one on here because what's wrong with this photo? Not yet. What's wrong with it?
No price.
There's no pricing. Isn't it funny? Nobody ever gets that right off the bat. I love that. I know, it was in Safari. Who said that? That's awesome. There's no price. I don't think any of you guys are going to have this issue, but you need to talk about your business model, even if you don't have all the answers. Just because you don't know what you're going to charge doesn't mean you can't not talk about it. Next Big Sound had no idea what they were going to charge. They just had a general idea of the structure of their charging. Freemium model, right? You got, again, this is speaking to the investor side of my brain. I need to understand how I am going to make money. If you don't understand how you're going to make money, why the hell would I invest in the business? But you don't need to have all the answers, okay? Just talk about it at a high level. A lot of companies get up and they talk about their competition. I don't give a shit about your competition. What do I care about? I'm an investor. What do I care about? Okay, but why do I care about how you're different?
IP.
How what? IP, sort of. I'm an investor. What do I care about? Money. What do I care about with your competition? How what? How you're going to beat them. That's right, how you're going to win. I generally want you to know who your competition is. I want you aware of what they're doing, but I want you focused on how you're going to win against them. So it's not a competition slide, it's a differentiation slide. How you're different, why you win, right? The audio on this one is really bad. I apologize, but let's watch it anyway because he does a decent job of this.
Now we are unlike
Actually, let me back up for a second. I forgot to tell you what he does. Dash is a company that went through the New York City program in 2013. They make a device that plugs into the OBD, actually down here, OBD2 port in your car that turns your car and your phone into a little Fitbit. It gives you information about what your car's doing.
Now, we are unlike anything out there on the market today. We'll work on any make of car. We are hardware agnostic. You buy off-the-shelf hardware, you can pick it up for as low as $10 on Amazon or at Sears. Our product is multi-platform, and we do all of this with no monthly fees.
Okay, a couple really, really high-level things that I guarantee you probably did not notice. First of all, he does not shit on his competition. He does not say, OnStar sucks because it only works on one make of car. Automatic sucks because they require their own proprietary hardware. He doesn't say any of that. He takes the high road. He talks about how he's better, not why his competition sucks. For the same reason you guys, none of us like it during politics when they shit on each other. Don't shit on your competition. Take the high road. Tell why you're better, not why they suck. Okay? The second thing, he's got a little bit of psychology going on here. He shows me that he does know who his competition is, but that he's better. Like big Dash logo, right? Little competition. It's stupid. It's corny. It kind of works. Huh. Right? So take the high road, talk about why you're better, but make sure you are showing me that you know who they are. You don't want to advertise your competition, so you don't want them in big logos.
Question.
Yeah?
Would Uber do the same if Lyft had just raised like angel funding? I mean, if the competition was very small in an early stage?
If it's really, so if it was a big, if it made big news, you might, just to show investors that you know who's out there and who you're paying attention to. It also depends on the situation. So if you're on stage on demo day, I wouldn't want to put like, it would be probably bad form to have 50 different logos down here. Yeah. Because all an investor is going to see now is, wow, you got a lot of competition, right? But if you're at a partner meeting, you might actually say, we do have a lot of competition, this is a noisy space, but here are the 3 or 4 things that we do that they can't do. This is our magic secret sauce, this is our killer advantage, and this is why we're going to win. So it a little bit depends on the situation.
Okay.
If it's a really high profile funding, you probably want to put it up there. Because sometimes, so I will actually say this, you want to talk about the elephant in the room. Always, right? So if your biggest competition is Google, you want to get in front of that and not let people be thinking that in the background. You might say, while we have some technology that competes with Google, we are actually a great acquisition target for them, or we're actually partnering with Google, right? Or actually, we do these 3 things better than Google, which makes it so that people are they're dropping Google and coming to us. You want to get in front of those things, not let people just think about them in the background. I love telling this story. This is one of my favorite slides in the entire pitch deck. So this is a company called The Next Big Sound. They went through the Techstars Boulder class in 2009. They sold to Pandora about a year ago. The founders that are in this photo, they were literally graduating college when they were going through the Techstars program. So they were graduating from the University of Chicago, Illinois, Urbana-Champaign or whatever that is. And they were at the program, and then they would fly back to Chicago and like take a final, and then fly back to the program, and then would fly back to Chicago and graduate, and then fly. They were doing this back and forth thing. So literally graduating during the program. And when it came time to talk about the team in their pitch deck, they were really nervous about that because they didn't really have a background. Like, they were fresh out of college. They had some internships, but they didn't have a real career behind them. So what are they going to talk about, right? How do they put some power behind this slide? Well, they had decided early on that they wanted to raise a round. They wanted to raise $250,000 seed round, really small round, from Foundry Group. Foundry Group is a venture fund that's located in Boulder. And they had decided that they wanted to raise the capital from Foundry Group. So at the time of demo day, this is their team slide. This is Next Big Sound's team slide on their demo day deck. And at the time of demo day, this was Foundry Group's team photo on their slide. I mean, on their website. Right? Next Big Sound, Foundry. Okay, so you're standing in front of 1,000 investors in that room. Who got the joke? Foundry. Who else? No one. What message does that say to Foundry?
We've identified you.
Yeah, yes,
We're laser focused on you.
that's right. What else?
I love you.
Yep, that's right. What else?
Yeah, it's just bumping up to stalker, isn't it? It's like, single white female is just sort of
A little bit, right? They didn't cross the line though, but it's close. I mean, if it were exactly like that photo, it might have been a little too far, but
It says we have a sense of humor, I think.
I do too.
It's funny.
I think that that's what that says that. I think it says that.
That photo is slightly taking the mickey out of the fact that the guys are terrible.
There's something else that it says.
We are you?
A little bit. We want to be like you, like yes, but there's something else.
Done the research.
A little bit, yeah. Who has got the definitive guide to creating a startup? Who owns that book? Does the book exist?
Yeah.
No. Doesn't really.
Trick question.
I mean, is there a manual out there that tells you how to win how to be a successful entrepreneur with that succeeds 100%? No, right? So what does it take in order for you to be a successful entrepreneur?
Hustle, persistence.
Persistence, hustle, creativity, right? If you're going to be this creative on a fucking team slide in a demo day deck, if you're going to be this creative about such a small little challenge, imagine when you actually have a real problem. Holy shit. That's what this says, right? If these guys can be this creative and this unique about such a simple challenge, imagine what's going to happen when their business faces real problems. My point is that you can turn whatever weakness you have in your business into a strength by using a little creativity. You just have to think differently about it. And you can turn it around into the biggest strength of your company. They wanted to raise $250,000 from Foundry Group. I think they raised $1.1 million.
From Foundry Group?
From Foundry Group. And they sold to Pandora last year. Awesome, right? Take the weakness of your business and turn it into a strength. You just need to think creatively about it. Another really powerful part of the business section is talking about your timeline and traction. I love putting this up there, right? Okay, so this is also next week's sound. So in just 87 days, we've integrated 6 services. We're tracking 500,000 artists and 130 million fan interactions in just 87 days. And in 87 days, look at all these companies that we've partnered with. Okay, investor brain, what do I hear?
They can execute.
They can execute what? Fast. They can execute fast. If they can do all of that in 87 days, imagine what they're going to do with a year and some capital behind them. This is the kind of team you want to back because they get shit done and they get shit done fast. Of course I want to put my money into a company like this because even if they're on the wrong track, they're going to figure it out fast, they're going to pivot fast, and they're going to get on the right thing fast. Right? I love that. So your timeline and traction isn't just to show people what you've done. It's to show people what you've done in what amount of time. And let them extrapolate from there. Look at how quickly we can move. If this isn't a strength of your business, don't put it up there. If it is a strength, highlight it like mad. All right. The last section is just the landing section. This section lasts about 30 seconds. It's really, really short. And your key here is to make the lasting impressions. All right? I want you to beat me over the head with your 2 or 3 key points. I'm only going to remember 2 or 3 things that you've said, probably 2, maybe even 1. What you should do is take a sticky note, put it on your computer, write down the 2 or 3 things you want me to remember, and make sure you've said them 2 or 3 times during your deck. You can say them in the intro, you can say them during the demo, you can say them during the business section, and you should repeat it at the end. This is where you want to beat me over the head with it. Stick the landing. I actually love this picture because this woman is so shocked that this girl has done like the perfect, she like landed her dismount perfectly or whatever, and she's shocked. I love that photo. But mostly because a lot of times what I see is entrepreneurs, you guys are nervous on stage, you want to get off stage, so you're like excited to get off. So you're like, and I'm Nicole, and thank you very much. And they slink off stage. But do you remember when we talked about earlier about the confidence thing? When you slink off stage, when you don't nail your landing, it hurts you because the last thing I remember about you is this lack of confidence. And it's such an unfair assumption, but it's one that everybody makes, that your lack of confidence translates into your skills as a CEO. If you can't even be confident pitching for capital, how are you ever going to be the CEO of a billion-dollar business? It's such an unfair assumption, but it's one that everybody subconsciously makes. So sticking the landing is just practice. It's just practice. You can do that, right? Nail the landing. And we'll talk a little bit about that in a second. Okay, always make a call. Always make a call for call to action. Always have an ask. Always. I don't care if it's demo day or if it's your new tech meetup or if it's some pitch competition somewhere else. Always have an ask. By the way, even at the end of a partner meeting, if you're sitting down with a partner, have an ask. Understand what the next step is. Always be closing, right? Thanks for listening to my pitch today. Was this interesting enough for you to make an investment? Yes? Great. What would next steps be? What would you like to get comfortable with next in order for you to get closer to a yes? Always, always have a call to action. A couple final thoughts. Delivery is everything. I started by saying I go into a pitch persona, right? This is just practice. You have to know when you can pace, because a lot of times pacing can show enthusiasm. And when I'm excited, you guys get excited. You feel my excitement, and shit, it's really fun to work with somebody that's exciting. And me just pacing like this is me just walking back and forth on the stage, right? I can do this all day long, but you guys feel energy out of it. That's just practice. You can learn when to use big motions. Sometimes it's really appropriate to use big motions. Oh my gosh, sometimes it's really appropriate to talk quietly. You can emphasize things when you talk quietly. And sometimes silence is your best friend. If you have lost your room and you see that everybody's looking down at their phones, silence is the most powerful tool that you can pull out, because this is what happens. People are looking at their phones and then they go, huh? What's going on? Right? It's just practice. And if you are scared of this part, learn where, like, have places in your deck where you wave an arm, places in your deck where you move, places in your deck where you stand straight. You can actually engineer that stuff into the deck so it starts to look comfortable and natural to the people in the room. And for you, it might be very awkward, but as you practice it, it becomes very natural. If I see anybody with bullet points in their deck, I will personally come and find you and spread you with hot tar and shower you in chicken feathers. Your job is to get another meeting, get to the next meeting. Your job is to entertain me and impress me, and I'm telling you, who thinks bullet points are interesting? No, you do not. You want to use imagery behind you. Let the images behind you reinforce your words. Your goal is to make me hear you, be excited by interacting with you, and then the images behind you reinforcing what it is that you're saying. Because I can listen or I can read. I cannot do both. This is literally a biological limitation of your brain. You cannot listen and read at the same time. So when there are words on the screen behind you, every single person is going to read the words. They're going to prioritize reading the words over listening to you. And I know that you're not, so case in point, because I always love doing this, because case in point, somebody always snickers, which tells me that they're reading the words. Yes. Did you say something funny? Ditto for complex charts and graphs. It's the same problem, right? I can either study what's going on behind you, my brain is focused on the complex chart and graph behind you, or I can listen to you. right? I did actually see this in a pitch one time, and it was really funny because afterwards I was like, oh, can I have a picture? Can I have a copy of your deck? Because I'd really like to use the chart in there. And the founder was like, oh, sure. I don't think he knew that I was going to make fun of him for the rest of my life, but you can use charts and graphs. They just can't be complex. This is next big sound. What's the X and Y axis? I have no fucking idea. He's just trying to convey a point. And that's really all that charts and graphs are meant to do, is convey a point. By the way, you would never put this in a partner meeting. You can do this on stage in demo day, but never in a partner meeting, right? So you also have to understand what techniques are appropriate under what circumstances. This is not enough detail. You put this in a partner meeting, they think that you're making fun of them, or that you're really dumb. But on stage, it's perfect because it's a prop, right? People listen, or they will read. They will not do both. Okay, I want to talk really briefly about generic language. Generic language seeps into every single startup, the way that they talk about their business, and it drives me crazy. Our sales intelligence tool helps customers close more deals. What does the company do? Is it an app? Is it a Google Chrome plugin? Is it a phone book? I have no idea what they do. We help companies collaborate on social media content. What the fuck do they do? Don't tell me what you do. This is how you get out of using generic language. Don't tell me what you do. Tell me how you do what you do. So, for instance, our sales intelligence tool helps customers close more deals. We help customers close more deals through our phone book, which is a printed thing that we put on the step of every business out there, and we sell advertising in it. Oh, I got how you do what you do. It's the how you do what you do that's important, not the what you do that's important. This is what keeps you out of the same classification as every other company that's competing with you. We are a social, local, mobile event discovery app. I had to put that in there. Okay. Practice in public and practice like you play. I'm going to do a really, really quick neuroscience lesson, right? Everybody take neuroscience in college at some point. So you remember that in your brain you have these neural connections, and when you're learning a new task, there's a big separation between the neurons in your brain. And as you practice something over and over again, that connection gets tighter because the little dendrites reach out, and pretty soon they're touching, and then the neurons fire really quickly back and forth, and pretty soon it becomes second nature. You don't even have to think about it, right? You all remember this from neuroscience? And the exact opposite happens when you want to forget something or you want to unlearn a skill. It's like the less you practice it, those neural connections weaken, and pretty soon the dendrites break apart, and then that neural connection, the electricity has to jump distances, and then it's really hard to do, right? When you stand up for pitch practice and you're like, hi, I'm Nicole, and sorry I didn't really do anything since last week, but I'm gonna read, okay? My name's Nicole, and I'm the CEO of my company, and you are literally practicing mediocrity over and over and over again, and you're strengthening it, which will increase the likelihood of you doing it when it counts. If you get up for pitch practice, or in your bathroom mirror, or wherever else you are practicing your pitch, and you nail it like you're going to be nailing it in front of a group of 1,000 people, it becomes second nature. Do not practice mediocrity. Practice awesomeness. And don't laugh at each other when you guys get up here and you nail it. By the way, that doesn't mean you have to memorize. You can still read. I could read the back of a toothpaste tube and it will sound interesting. Because I practice this all the time, right? So practice awesomeness. Don't practice mediocrity. Practice like you play. Practice your answers. Every single one of you guys should have the top 5 most frequently asked questions that you get. Practice the answers to those questions. Make sure everybody in your team has practiced the answers to those questions. Make sure you guys all agree what the answers to those questions are. Because as the investor, right, wow, I just heard your great pitch. I'm really interested. I'm going to come up and ask you a question like, how are you going to make money? And you're like, well, we've been back and forth some things. We think maybe we're going to sell some advertising. We might at some point sell hats with our company logo on it. I don't know, right? Versus we're going to make money 3 ways. First is through advertising on our website. We haven't actually initiated that yet, but that's going to be in Q3 of this year. We're going to start to put the advertising up. The second way is through selling hats on our website, and the third way is through partnerships. Just nail the answer, because that communication of confidence again that we talked about is really important. And when you get that, when an investor gets that from everyone on the team, they're really excited. If the first question that an investor asks you, you stumble over it, they're going to like be wanting to keep that business card in their pocket. The same thing is do not lie or bullshit me, right? As an investor, your job is to have a really good bullshit detector. Because you know what? Stuff in business goes bad. It goes bad all the time. And I want to know that when something goes bad with one of my investments, that entrepreneur comes to me and talks to me about it, and that we can help solve that problem together, rather than me finding out too late for me to do anything about it. So when the first interaction I have with an entrepreneur is a lie or bullshit, and my bullshit detector is going off, I want to have nothing to do with that entrepreneur. Because I know if they're going to bullshit me over a conversation number 1, what the fuck are they going to do when it gets hard? You know? By the way, I don't know is an awesome answer, not just because it's true, but why?
Shows you're willing to show weakness.
Yes, this is true. It shows authenticity and weakness, which is good. It's like weakness is not the word. It's vulnerability. Thank you.
Shows what you're focused on by not being focused on something else.
Yes, but why else? What's the purpose of Demo Day?
Get the next meeting.
Get the next meeting. So why is I don't know a great answer?
Get the next meeting. So you came up with that. Talk about that during the next meeting.
Yes. You know, Mr. Investor, that is a great question. I'm embarrassed that I don't have an answer to it. Do you mind if I do a little bit of research and get back to you? Can I have your business card? That's awesome. Do it. Because it allows you to build that relationship. Okay. As you're putting together your Demo Day deck, here's a best practice. First of all, use a deck. Don't use a Google document or a Word document. Actually put your stuff in a Keynote deck or in a Google Slides, Google presentation. Insert placeholder images on every page of your deck so you basically know what's going to be there. If you're going to have a picture of a cat, put a fucking picture of a cat. If you're going to have a picture, like a video of your demo, just put words, video of demo. Really basic placeholder images. In the presenter notes underneath is where you want to put your script. Okay? Don't put your script in a single Word deck, like a single Word doc, because it doesn't ever map back to the presentation. Your goal with this presentation is one key point per slide. One image, one key point. That doesn't mean one sentence, but it means one key point. One image, one key point. Next slide. One image, one key point. Okay? When you can deliver that, it will become very powerful. Your goal is to have the presenter notes with your script, memorize it, and then throw it out. Because you'll remember what the one key point is, and then that way you won't ever have to remember word for word, because you'll have remembered the one key point. But if you've gone through and tried to memorize the words in there, at some point, like you memorize the words and then you purge it, and then you'll actually be able to deliver it really naturally. Okay, I want to highlight one thing. There are 3 phases as you're raising capital, right? The first phase is who, like who you're going to go after, identifying the right people. The second phase is working on the pitch. That's what we did today. And the third phase is how to close those deals. We only did the second one. So getting 1 and 3 right are really important to a successful fundraise. I'm Nicole. Now you won't suck at pitching. I'll take questions. I will take questions if you have them. And I can go out of my little mode. Yeah?
What's the biggest, how much work is it to make the leap from a deck-based pitch to a no-deck-based pitch?
No deck as in no supporting visuals?
Exactly.
It's actually pretty easy. So here's how I would do it. This is how I would generally do it. Actually, let me start with how most people do it and then why that's wrong. So most people will start with an email deck that they email around. and then they try to make a demo day deck from that, and then they try to go no deck from that, and it's really, really hard to do. Start with your, the very first document you should put together is your demo day deck. Get that right. Because once you get that right, then the deck that you email around is the same deck, it just has a few more words on the slides, because it needs to stand alone. And then your node deck is really easy because you've gone through the memorization and the key points of every single one slide. You know that so well that you don't actually need the deck anymore. But if you try to do it the other way, if you try to go from like a deck that you email around, nothing works. Yeah.
So the same public speaking, you don't answer the question you're asked, you answer the question that they asked. And so if you get a question which you don't know the answer to, is it more effective to say, well, maybe I don't know, but, and then maybe try to reframe or talk about something that's similar that you do know, so that you give them some answer to your question, but maybe set up a future meeting as compared to saying, I don't know, but I'll get back to you.
That's a great question. I'm going to answer it personally. If I ask an entrepreneur a direct question and they're evasive about the answer, it's an entrepreneur I don't want to work with. I want to work with somebody that is going to that wants to tackle the hard stuff together. I am so comfortable with an I don't know answer. I'm very, very comfortable. Unless it's a really obvious, like if I ask you how you're going to make money and you don't know, then I probably write you off, right? If I ask you how you're going to make money and you go, well, we're still considering the options. Here are the 3 or 4 ways that we're considering, but at the end of the day, we're totally not sure, and I would love some help thinking through it. But if you're evasive with the answer, it's an entrepreneur I don't want to work with. We hate that about politicians, right? Just answer the question you're asked. It makes you feel like they're hiding something. You don't want to make me feel like you're hiding something, right? So again, that's a personal response. Not all investors will think that way. But as a human being, I want to work with other human beings that I feel like I can tackle hard problems with and that I can have honest conversations with. And that would immediately turn me off to that entrepreneur. I don't care how interesting the business is, I probably wouldn't fund it. What else? Yeah?
When you talk to investors, statistics versus storytelling, what's more important or what's, because we had different kind of, we had different feedback. Some say it's like, inspire me, tell me a story, I don't care about statistics. But I've seen here that statistics might work.
So I can't answer that question because it very much depends on your business and your strengths and your story. So the thing that I would tell you is leverage the most powerful thing that you have. So if what you have is a powerful story, then use that. If your story is not very powerful, then don't use it. Use statistics. If both your story and statistics are powerful, then I would use a story and sprinkle statistics in there to back up the importance of the story. But it's going to be different for every company, right? There isn't a hard and fast rule. That's the hard and also beautiful thing about this, is that there are no hard and fast rules here. You guys can take almost any rule I gave you and throw it out and do what works for your company. But what you want to do is in pitch practice, make sure that the room is identified, like that whatever it is that you're doing is moving the room, right? So you have to try to figure out what the thing to do is that will most likely move the room. Does that make sense? So stories tend to be better because you get people's attention for longer, but if you can sprinkle statistics in there to back up the importance of the story, it's good. It's great, actually. Yeah.
We are all, so some of the companies that have physical products are talking to video content producers about how we make video for Go Internet. It looked from none of the examples you used had like long video. They were like little, like sort of GIF length essentially.
Mm-hmm.
Like, do you have any recommendations for how you structure video in a slide presentation like this?
I do, but I'm not sure it's going to answer the question, so let me try, and then you can ask your question a different way if I didn't understand it. So at least in the demo section, when you do maybe have a long video that you put together, normally what I tell the company to do is create the 1.5-minute long video, if that's what you want to do, and then break up the video into key points. And then in Keynote, if you go from slide to slide to slide, it will look like one continuous video. I don't know if it does that in PowerPoint, but it will actually look like one continuous video, but that allows the presenter to go at their own pace rather than being off timing with the deck behind them. I don't think you need to absolutely use video. You can use GIFs, you can use static images. It doesn't matter as long as it is visual in some way, and that will help reinforce what it is that you're talking about. So sometimes video can be better, but sometimes it can be distracting. Like the native one, a lot of people don't like that video because they think it's too distracting. Everything's moving around too fast, and they have a hard time focusing, right? So just figure out what works best for you guys and then do that thing. I think it's the timing of what the person is saying matching with what's going on behind that's actually the most important part. That and the right visual. And what I mean is by the image being the image of the right thing. Right? Don't show me a login page. I don't need you to demo a login. Right?
Do you like Prezi pitches?
I'm not a fan of Prezi pitches. The reason I'm not a fan of Prezi pitches is because it's marketing to me. I want to see pictures and images of your product. The zooming around of like words and stuff isn't highlighting for me your product and what makes your product unique and special.
Too messy, you think?
Yeah.
And secondly, we're an international company, and we have we're approaching a global marketplace. So we want to do videos that are local here in Seattle, so everybody connects with them, right? But we're also really excited about showing how this touches people in China, Nigeria, France as well. So what would be your approach there?
I don't know how to answer that until I see what it is.
Yeah.
But I also think it's okay to know your audience. So if what you're trying to do is raise capital from a local Seattle market, and you think that images of Seattle are going to be the thing that moves them the most, I would use images of that. If you think that images of Africa and Asia are going to be images that move them the most, you want to use that. So trying to tailor it to the unique needs of your audience. Yeah. I know that's it's never a great question, but the best thing to do is go, what's my audience, how's my audience going to react to the different situations?
On that note, I was curious about the rest of Next Big Sound's presentation. It sounds like they really had an audience that excluded most of the crowd. They were pitching to Foundry Group, and they were looking for a small investment from Foundry Group and got a big one. But I guess I'm wondering about what are the secondary goals for the rest of the audience that might not be your target?
So they didn't tailor, the only thing that tailored the pitch to Foundry Group was the team slide.
Yeah.
And I don't think that tailored the entire pitch.
Okay.
In fact, they have a very, by the way, all of Demo Day videos are recorded. So you guys can go on to Connect, I think, and see almost any Demo Day video. If you can't, just email me and I'll find the video for you. But they actually have a very famous line at Techstars, which was, we're only raising $250,000. Look how much we can execute in a really short period of time. The reason why we need $250,000 is because I can't remember exactly what they say. It's something like we're young and we're cheap to keep alive. And that little, young and hungry and cheap to keep alive. And that joke lasted it rippled through the Techstars investors for 3 years afterwards. So, but my point is they didn't tailor the whole pitch to only Foundry. It was just that one slide.
Got it.
And the best way for you to raise money is to get the most amount of interest, right? So you want to be as broad as you can with your approach. But that's why that one slide was so important, was because it didn't not speak to everybody else. It just laser spoke to Foundry. It didn't exclude other people. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Does that make sense?
Totally.
What's a good way to demo products that are highly technical?
I don't know. I'd have to see your product, right? Sometimes there are ways, and sometimes you have to use a story like the other guys use. If it's a hardware product, you can show me images of hardware. If it's not hardware, if it's software, then we would just need to talk about the best approach. It's going to be different for every company. And it can be tricky. Is that it? I'm here until 3. I think I have office hours with all of you. So I'm really excited about meeting you guys. I'm happy to help work on your pitches, but I also really want to help with the business. So don't be afraid to lean on me for issues with the business. And I'm around all day. So I'm excited to spend the rest of the day with you guys. Okay? Thanks.